I'm sometimes challenged by the nature of the games that the nation of Facebook plays. It really baffles me just how to win this game when they can so randomly change the rules. Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast, 5-minute videos, 5 days a week. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and I wonder how often we find ourselves in a negotiation, whether it's trying to get a job or trying to get just the right pay raise at the job you already have or applying for a new position. How do we win the game of getting what we want out of life when the rules are so ambiguous, when things move, when the target moves? I mean, some people say, as long as you're doing the right thing, it doesn't really matter how much money you earn. As long as you're living by your gifts and doing what you're most gifted to do, it doesn't really matter how much money you earn. Or they say all that matters is how much money you earn and how many toys you accumulate and how much you have when the game is over. But the reality is the game is always changing. Who's on top today could be who's on bottom tomorrow. How the game is played, maybe that's the most important part. Do you maintain your integrity? Do you give 100%? The reality is for most people, they have maybe 10 or 12 things in their life that they have to apply themselves to, but there are only one or two of those, Pareto principle, that they apply 100% of themselves to. 100% of their effort, 100% of their emotion, 100% of their personal involvement, as opposed to delegating or hiring somebody else out to do it. And it's in those one or two things out of 10, that 20% of life, that the most progress is made. The challenge is when we get so distracted by the changing of the rules, by the changing of the guard, by the movement around us that we forget we still have to show up and play the game ourselves. It's real easy. I spoke to a man yesterday who said he has some friends that he went to visit that are worth millions. And in their neighborhood, there's a big, beautiful park. And as they were walking back from getting ice for an evening event, they noticed all of these cars lined up in the park. And he thought, wow, this must be like a huge concert or something going on. Where's the performance hall? He said, oh no, those aren't cars lined up for a concert. Those are people who live in their cars. They come here about sundown and they park in the park and they sleep in their cars. And then he said, honestly, some of the people who work for my company don't own a home. They live in their car. Okay, part of me says, what's wrong with this system that someone can have a full-time job with gainful employment and a steady paycheck and still not be able to afford a house to live in? Is it mismanagement of the money they have, or is it manipulation of the game and the system and how much it costs to buy or rent or lease a house? How does that happen? How is it that you show up for work and you do your job? I've seen exposés on the same thing where young people, single mothers, going to college full time, they put their kids in daycare, they go to class, they come out of class, they pick up their kids from daycare, and they go sleep as a family in their car. There's something wrong with our system when that happens. But as Laurel Langmeyer says, it's not the system that's broken. It was made that way. Now the question is, how do we learn to play to give 100% in a system where the rules are ambiguous, where people can be challenged and then days later, weeks later, the whole game changes? I mentioned Facebook when I opened. Part of the mantra that was released through the social media world about 90 days ago was, move your videos, move your promotional items to your Facebook page because they will be squashed if they're on your timeline. So this is a test, honestly, because here's what I've noticed. On my Facebook page, these videos get 1 or 2 views unless I boost them. If I boost them, I have some that now have 6,000 views. In fact, over 1,000 people have watched the longer videos, 30 minutes, beginning to end. So it's not like interest has disappeared. It's not like the conversation isn't important. But Facebook has a way of manipulating the placement and the exposure. Of course, on my Facebook page, I can't boost any of these videos to the people who are generally watching them. I can't tag anybody in them because you can't do that from a page. Only other pages can be tagged. I can't tag them in a group because groups right now are set up that It looks like you can, but 9 times out of 10, when I record the video live in the group, it actually deletes all the content that I type into the box and removes all the people that I've tagged, even if they're already members of the private group. It's fascinating to me how that game keeps changing. And the bottom line is, if you want anybody to see what you're doing, they have to be looking for it, or you have to spend dollars. You've got to pay for ad dollars for them to see it. So this video is actually a test. But I will continue to give my 100% toward these Leading Leaders podcast videos because I believe they're important to the people who are watching them. Some of them in the US, but most of them are not. And the fact that they get hidden is kind of frustrating to me. So I'm just going to keep playing the game until I understand the rules that are in front of me, and I will still play all out, whatever the rules are. I'll play by the rules, but I will play all out. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.